Welcome everyone to another episode on PokerProNews. Today we have very special guest Frank Zarrillo, the director of newly released documentary Matusow, now streaming on YouTube. The film offers an unfiltered look at four-time WSOP bracelet winner Mike Matusow, poker's most intense and unforgettable personalities. Let us hear more about the documentary from the filmmaker himself and what it means for fans of the game. Welcome, Frank, on the show.
Thank you for having me, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll start with the first question, what initially, because obviously filmmaking is a creative process. So we would like to know, what initially inspired you to tell Mike Matusow's story. I mean, what was that inspiration? And was it his success, his downfall, or his resilience that drew you to him, right? And just to, narrate this story.
Yeah, it's funny actually how that came about. So my friend, his name's Yusef. He's I guess you call him a grinder, right? Guys trying to make a living out of it. He was playing in Mike Matusow's home game back in, I think it was 2020. And he had asked me, because I was just finishing up with my other projects, if, he knew I was interested in doing something in the poker world. So he said, oh, I'm playing in Mike's home game. He goes, you want me to ask him? So, I initially, when I thought about doing something in the poker world, I had thought about doing something in like the full tilt aspect. You remember that? Like just the whole full tilt scandal thing. And I never really had intention of doing one singular on a biopic kind of thing. So anyways, I said, yeah, well, shoot him a message and see what happens. So he ended up talking. Long story short, he ended up talking to Mike's assistant / friend, Ben. And I would say shortly thereafter, we got the ball rolling. And that's basically how we started. And then we just started talking on the phone, and that was it. Was there other parts to your question? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. And that's really amazing. Okay, let's move to the next question. You included a lot of raw, unfiltered audio of Mike, trash talk. And he's been famous for that also, for bad reason and good reason, it. And his emotional breakdown. So how did you balance honesty with respect in your portrayal, right? That character.
So basically, I kind of just, I don't like to really manipulate what's going on or edit it or hide it. I knew that we would kind of, I want to say lose interest to try to make like a fluff piece or anything, but I tried to put on screen as what I witnessed for, the 6+ weeks I was out there with him every single day. And if you cut it and try to manipulate those images and whatnot, you're never going to know who he really is. Like he really is like what you see on that camera. And I've been on record with Poker Org and stuff like that. They interviewed me and they asked me my first encounter with him. I went to his house first thing in the morning, and he was just literally in an underwear. So it's like you can't fake that kind of story. And I was telling you before, we're like self-destructive characters. He is one in a sense where he can't. I don't think he has the ability to lie or put on a facade or anything like that. It's like what I wanted to portray in the film was what I saw in person, and I think that we did that the best that we could. Like I said, that's who he is. I mean, there's no faking that.
I mean, true. I'll ask, how much time you spend with him, just to understand, the background of his character actually.
I spent so it was the 2021 WSOP, and that was I was out there for the entire duration, so it was 6 weeks. And then I then I went back for the World Poker Tour 20th anniversary. And then after that I went back for I can't remember exactly on top of my head, but I went back again. So overall it had to be over almost 3 months of time with him
Hmm.
just to get all that out.
I mean, that's quite a good enough time, right, to
Yeah.
understand anybody. I mean, you in the movie you showed Mike's earlier day, like no, when he was stealing the money, dealing card,
Oh yeah,
trying to
yeah.
survive, right? So how did you visually and tonally contrast that period with his present day self?
The idea with that was like you remember on like The Godfather 2 when they're going in the beginning and the end, just with Michael Corleone's life and his father's life, and it just kept cutting back and forth, intermingling. I th I thought like the idea with that is when Mike's sitting in the chair and he's telling all of his stories, it
Oh,
would go back and forth of the past. Like he would tell the stories of what went on in the past, but in the future, it was I was with him. You see how I did that structured, and he would in the future he would be going to the poker tables or whatever, just going to fill up his car with gas. And I thought that was like the best way to tell it was structure it that way, where what I mean, so you didn't have to go in chronological order, just like a Pulp Fiction thing too, where it bounces from piece to piece to piece, and like for in Pulp Fiction remember at the end where the two characters are walking out of the restaurant, but earlier in the picture they were killed. So that's the way I felt like it needed to be, kind of like a jump cut sense, because that's kind of who he is as a person too. Everything's like a jump cut in his mind. So that's how I thought we should structure the story.
got it. So how cooperative was Mike during the making of his documentary? Were there any moments where he hesitated or pushed back on how his story is being told?
I think if you remember in the film, the only thing he really didn't want to get into was the prison, what happened in prison. I don't know. He didn't even tell me off camera either, so I couldn't even tell you. I would tell you if I knew. But other than that, I've filmed a lot of people over the last decade, like just that weren't documentaries, just projects, side projects, stuff like that. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think going forward, I don't think I'm ever going to get that level of access again, where someone would just let you into their life that much. So in terms of being cooperative, yeah, he didn't care. He put every single thing. I mean, you see him; he's shirtless, laying on the ground over his dying cat. Um, Going to the strip club. He's dancing with the stripper on the pole. Like, you know what I mean? He didn't hold back on anything. Like I said, just imagine any other poker player in the industry. You think anybody like Daniel Negreanu, Phil would ever do any of that on camera? They have an image to protect.
Yeah.
They're the faces of the company. They're not going to do that. Mike just doesn't care. And I think in the long run, I think that kind of hurts him in terms of sponsorship and stuff like that. But I don't. He just doesn't care because he doesn't have a fake bone in his body. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, he was cooperative all the way through. I kind of got to do exactly what I set out there to do, and I showed it to him first to approve it too. So I didn't just make a piece out of it and go, "Oh, this is what it's going to be," and try to tarnish his name. I showed it to him before we put it out there, and he approved it. So
Mhm. And that's really nice.
yeah.
Okay. So how long did you follow Mike for his documentary? I mean, apart from that 3 months, like, did you invest some time prior to, investing that 3 months, like, just understand his story, collecting more and more document from like, friends and, other colleagues and something like that?
Yeah, so the initial conversation with me and Mike, just the amount of time I spent with him, I think we started talking in 2020, I believe, and then we pretty much wrapped because we did a screen in South Point, Las Vegas hotel. That was in actually around this time right now. Timing's perfect, about a year ago. And then the distribution came out December 27th of 2024. So, I mean, if you look at it, the amount of time had to be from 2020 to, till now, because we're doing all the promotion stuff now. So, I mean, over 5 year period. That's why, if you know that you're going to get into a project as a filmmaker or something, or just if you want to do this stuff for a living or whatever, you have to understand that it's not just going to be a year or two. It's a significant portion of your life where, you just seen those. I mean, you're obviously not dedicating every day to it. Like I was telling you before, if you add up all the time, it's probably 3 months over that period of time. But you have to understand that you're going to be married to it the rest of your life. And you better be sure that this is something that you want to put all your time into, because, it's gotta compound into something else once you're done. And you have to make sure you pick the right person, which I think he was in that industry. So to answer your question, yeah. 2020 and 2025, we're still doing the promotions.
Hmm. Got it. So, I mean, this is a particular question on the focus of the movie. So,
Right.
addiction, mental health, and identity are the central of this documentary, right? So,
Mhm.
were you aiming to raise awareness beyond poker circles, or how did you think of it, right? And
No, I didn't try to pull out one singular thing like the addiction or mental health or stuff. Like I knew all that stuff by reading his book and just knowing his history, being a fan, covered it, and like you do, and just knowing about the business and stuff like that. Like going back to why I chose to do a project with him is because I mean, at the end of the day, those components tell a good story. If you have a straight arrow guy that does everything by the book and just doesn't create controversy, we probably wouldn't be talking to each other right now. I mean, it would just be one of those cookie cutter pieces that would go up on YouTube or whatever, and there's just it would I don't think it would pull a reaction out of anybody. They just wouldn't care. Even if I was doing it with an up and coming poker player, nobody would care. But I think that not to exploit those issues like that. I'm not. That wasn't my intention. My intention just was to tell a good story about a complicated character, and all those components happen to be there to make the story better. Because it's just good cinema when you look at it.
got it. So, yeah, if someone unfamiliar with poker watch this film, what do you hope they understand about the culture and lifestyle of the portrait?
That's a great question. So somebody who doesn't or didn't watch poker and wants to watch this piece, quite simply, it doesn't even have to be the American dream, just be the dream in general. The fact that Mike Matusow had reached the heights of a multimillionaire before he hit 30, uh, was playing cards for a living, sponsorships, 50 grand a month from Full Tilt and stuff like that. The real takeaway is kind of like what his mother was saying in there about squandering it and blowing it and not allowing the downfall of, because he could have went the other way with it. If you look at Daniel Negreanu, he's been on top for 20 plus years now. Phil Hellmuth has been on top for 20 plus years now. It's about decision making and doing the right thing, and not letting the lifestyle, whether it's Vegas or wherever you're at, it doesn't matter. Not letting the lifestyle, the drugs and the strippers and all that kind of stuff overtake you. And that's, I think, is like kind of like the main takeaway of what I was trying to do with the piece. Because now I want to jump into something here real quick too. I got some feedback with people saying about oh, it's too negative and it wasn't it wasn't very positive and they felt depressed watching it. But yeah, that was kind of the idea. Because if you got that level of success of that age and you squander it, I mean, you shouldn't be rewarded. I mean, I don't think should have been a happy ending. It's kind of, it's like a mafia piece. It's the rise and fall of the American mafia or whatever, where what happens at the end. They either get killed or in jail. I don't think that he could have been rewarded for the lifestyle that he had, because he had it and it was up to him to keep it and conserve it and all that else. And his friends that are in the business, which we've had this conversation, Phil and Daniel and just guys at that level, they're still maintaining it because they didn't go down that path. So it wasn't just made for poker players. It was made for anybody that can kind of relate to anything that he's going through in his life, which from being a dead cat or, like you said before, mental health or whatever, all those components are just kind of going with the average person living on the planet right now.
Got it. So Mike has been called one of the best and worst things happen to poker. So how do you personally perceive him after spending so much time documenting his life?
It's probably fair to say that I've known Mike since 2020 now, but it's probably fair to say that out of anybody walking this planet right now, I have to probably say that I know him just as good as anybody now because staying with him at his house and going with him to restaurants and movie theaters, wherever. We went everywhere together, and I had the camera rolling on 24/7. One thing I will say about him is he really is the real deal. Like they see him act and go crazy. He really is a harmless guy when he starts going crazy and throwing stuff at the table. He's not doing it where he's gonna violently attack somebody. He's just, he's just doing it because he doesn't think about anything else but the game. Like he talks about it on our car rides. He's watching it when I go into his room. He's got poker going or whatever. Then he'd be on the phone with Phil Hellmuth for like an hour or two a day. I would sit in the car and listen to them talk. And Phil knew I was there too. He didn't want me to record the calls that they were having, but they would just sit there and talk poker for like an hour. And after he would get busted from one of the tournaments, he would just talk poker. So my point with that is he really is a good guy with a big heart. Like he really does wear his emotions on his sleeve. He cares if like he would be concerned if I didn't eat yet. Like he would have to go order me food. He's like, "Hey, buddy, you hungry?" You know what I mean, he really is a good guy at heart, and I think that he's misunderstood when you see people attacking him on Twitter and stuff like that. I'm sure you see it, like it's all over. Just the articles they attack him. He's misunderstood, and I think that if you got to know him, you would realize that he really is a good guy, and I really do mean that. Not just because I did the project on him, it's because I spent that amount of time with him to know that.
Hmm. Got it. And I mean, a lot of people build up a different image, but yeah,
Yeah,
because you spend a lot of time with him, and definitely you have a better understanding about as in character, like as in person, like how is it
yeah.
true. I mean, a follow up question on a similar line, like because what part of my journey, which stick with you most personally, which you got attached to.
Usually, when I do my projects or with anybody, it's just business. Like we do our thing, we wrap up, and we move on. This is life. You know what I mean? It's what it is. With him, he's like we're literally like friends now. So if I were if I were to go to Las Vegas right now, I would go stay at his house right now. It'd be no problem. Like we'd pick right up where we left. Like we click just like that. Like just that. Like I said, I have zero. Um, when you catch up with an old friend and you got to rebuild the whole rapport up again and go through that whole process. There's none of that with him. I can go there right now and just hang out with him at his house. He's a very unique guy in that sense where the average person you couldn't, the average person you couldn't do that. You would like I said, you'd have to start from scratch and go through the whole song and dance of rebuilding that rapport. A year would pass. I'll just go into his house right now and we'll go out to eat like nothing, and he'll just start talking about his poker hands. But yeah, that was like for me in terms of the takeaway from it. I thought it was cool because going back to growing up, I was heavily influenced by Goodfellas and Casino, and I always wanted to do something in Las Vegas. Like I was just always attracted to the casino with De Niro and Scorsese, whatever. And when I saw that, I was like, one day I'm gonna go out there and do something. And I guess all the stars aligned. So it's hard to just take one singular thing because we spent so many days together that I can't even remember half of the things that we've done together. But the whole journey was unique because I don't think that anyone's ever gonna replicate that again from flying across the country. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I was living in Florida at the time. Flying across the country, spending the time with him, documenting him, meeting his whole orbit. Like day one, I met like all the top guys within the first 5 minutes. I landed in the WSOP when it was at the Rio at the time. Just that whole journey was. I don't think that any documentaries coming forward in the poker world or just any world in general, that you're going to get that kind of access and that kind of relationship with your subject. and it was truly a memorable part of my life for those few years. It really was.
I'm sure a lot of learnings as well came through that journey, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So moving to the another question, like so how's the poker community responded to the film so far, right? And has it sparked any dialogue or reflection within that world?
Yeah, there's a ton of comments, on online forums, just reviews on Amazon Prime. It just got on Tubi. I want to tell you too, it just got on Tubi TV like 2 days ago, I think, 1 or 2 days ago. So I don't know how it's doing there yet. And then YouTube, there's a ton of people. Like, I mean, there's just a ton of people talking. It's mixed. Um, some pros I was seeing, like people that are running like the Women's Poker Association, I think, if I said that correctly. They're the woman in charge of that, I can't remember her name, but she said it was a great film. Some other top pros were saying it was great, especially Phil. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if he's biased because he's in the film, but he said he really liked it. And nobody knows this yet, but Matusow texted me the other day. He said that Negreanu messaged him privately, said he really liked it. So I don't know what's going to come from that, if he's going to tweet her or whatever. But yeah, most of the poker world, I mean, a lot of them thought that, it's kind of like a 50-50. I don't know. It's like I didn't make it for the poker world. I made it for anybody that would relate to his character. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, we got pretty perceived. I actually, the Celebrity Poker Tour. I started talking with Blake, the kid that runs it, the owner of it, Blake Wynn. I went out and to one of his events. I can't remember. It was like maybe 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Um, he said that, a comment he made to me was it was neat that I was able to put that all together. And here's a good story for you. You just see, I just reminded myself. I was in a Uber back in February in Vegas, and me and the guys, he was just start asking when I was there, and we're talking, and then he said that he played poker at the South Point, and then I don't know how it happened. I told him that he said, "How do you know so much about poker?" And then I told him that I did Manisow's documentary, and he said he saw it, and he said he really liked it, and his question was, "How were you able to get all those people together and put them all in there?" But yeah, overall, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess people tell you what they want to tell you, but I'd say 50-50.
Hmm.
But it's a subjective business. People are gonna, you can't make it for everybody. You got to make it for you, and then if people like it, they like it. If they not, whatever. It's subjective.
Yeah, true. I mean, that's totally depend on like how the viewers are taking it up, right? Everybody will have a different perspective. But yeah,
Yeah,
fact.
and you can see
Okay.
it. You can see it on YouTube. There's so many comments talking trash.
Yeah,
So what are you
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
do?
yeah. No worries. What do you learn about Poker World that surprised you while making this film?
The main takeaway is a lot of guys that are still in the business on a longevity standpoint. From what I saw, don't use it as a main source of income. Primarily businessmen, stuff like that. Just not blowing your bankroll and all that stuff. Seeing how poker is very isolated, and anybody, if I was with Mike and one of his friends would come up, they would start telling their bad beat stories, and then if he stopped listening, which he doesn't do intentionally, it's just who he is, they would shift over to me and start telling me their bad beat stories, and we had never met before. But yeah, overall, what I learned is it's a high risk, high reward industry where I think only a very few reap the benefits in terms of sponsorships or anything like that. I mean, I don't see Phil or Daniel giving up their spots anytime soon, you know. But yeah, I mean, I personally don't play it like that. I'll play it for fun on like an app and stuff like that. But no, I don't. I won't go down that path, because when you're seeing the guys that are at the highest level telling you don't do it, it's like. That's a lesson in itself right there.
Great observation. We would like to know more about you. So, you have been making films since 13, right? So,
Yeah.
can you please share that moment, like, when you picked up camera with high intent to make some film, and I mean, just share that moment. Like, we would like to know more about that.
Yeah, my brother's back when DVDs were relevant and whatnot. I remember he had a shelf in his room. I would have to go upstairs when he wasn't home and just watch movies right after school. And that old fold, remember those fold DVD cases with the little black latch? Goodfellas was up there. It was in that kind of cover. And I popped that in, and I think at that point on, I fell in love with cinema. I mean, I always loved movies, but I never wanted to do it until I hit 13. And from that point on, after I watched Goodfellas, I was more interested of looking at behind the box. And I saw he directed it, he co-wrote it with Nicholas Pileggi, and then that kind of started becoming like a fascination. Like, all right, Ocean's 11, Casino, Godfather, whatever the movie was, I would always go to the back and see who was writing it and directing it. And then I would, Stanley Kubrick, Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, and I would start studying all of them and how they got their camera shots and what material was working the best and what material was going to the award ceremonies and kind of like collectively doing all that and what their camera shots were. And if you watch like The Shining with Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick Shining, and then Full Metal Jacket, and then Clockwork Orange, he has his signature where he's always doing the camera shot, the tracking shots through the hallways or stuff like that. So it's like I started to like put pieces of that. And if anyone watches Matusow, I try to like put some stuff in there. It's like clips of like when he's driving on the strip, like to give you like a taxi driver feel or whatever. When he's going down the hallways, it's like The Shining or whatever. And then when the black title cards come up, it's like on The Shining where it says Wednesday or Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like just started doing all that stuff, and I have been doing that for a long time now, and that's kind of how I got hooked. Like I haven't stopped from then. Was there another part to that question? I'm sorry, I forgot.
And when did you realize, like, you want to take it as a full-time career as a filmmaker?
It was then and there. I really never looked back. My dad got me for my eighth grade graduation. I got one of those little art. I still have it. I'll never get rid of it. It's a little RCA camera where the flip out and the mini DV tape, and then edit in on like I can't remember what it was. It was a PC. I started on a PC. Movie make I can't remember what it was, but I went through like in life where people try to skip steps. Like I literally went through all the steps. I edited on the crappiest software, and then gradually went to a Mac and iMovie, and then DaVinci Resolve and film festivals, and just gradually kept going, doing it the proper procedure so I can learn. Writing crappy scripts, making 30 plus crappy short films. You know what I mean? So stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't looked back since. And oh yeah, and also too, I went to Full Sail University, a film school in Winter Park, Florida, which I gotten a lot of connections out of there and stuff like that. Just going there for that.
Got it. So your debut feature, which is like the Wrestler, A.K. Marshall story, won
Mhm.
best documentary at Comic Con.
Right.
So, what did the experience teach you about capturing larger than life personalities with hidden struggles?
When we did that one, we started filming that in 2015. Uh, I had graduated Full Sail in 2013, and then I ended up doing a short stint as a production assistant on like Project Runway and then a few other things like that. And then I was in the elevator at one of the line producers, and he asked what I want to do in the business, and I told him. I said write and direct. So he said that you're in the wrong part of the business right now, and basically just go out and go do your own thing. So that's what I kind of did. I mean, I kind of knew that, but I was always hesitant. But hearing it from somebody that was at a high level in the business, telling it, that basically, you're basically going to waste 20 years waiting for someone to give you a shot that no one's ever going to give you, because it's such a high risk business where people aren't just going to hand you money unless you can prove yourself. So my older brother knew the guy. We ended up going out to in New Jersey, the Monster Factory. And I remember day one on the job, if you want to call it. He There a wrestler named Blue Meanie. I grew up watching him. If you're a wrestling fan, back in it was still WWF at the time, the Attitude Era. His name was the Blue Meanie, and I remember watching him as a kid. He was there, and he was, he seen me come in with 4 or 5 people, and we got cameras and stuff like that, and he was like, "Oh yeah, just let me know you want to do the interview." At that point, I'm like really green, I never really done this kind of stuff before, so I had to kind of pretend that we knew. I was like, "Know what you're doing in front of him." You know what I mean? Don't act like you've been doing this for a long time. And that was like one of my first interviews for the documentary. Because he already had a history in the WWF. He already had made it in his life, and now he's teaching students there. So from that point on, I just kept compounding. All right, like one of your first interviews is somebody had already made it. All right, and then the next guy comes, and then I started separating myself from that. And then same thing when I did in my bodybuilding documentary back in 2020. I'm in the room with Schwarzenegger. I'm interviewing Ronnie Coleman, 8-time Mr. Olympia. At this point, it was kind of not like a assembly line, but it cut all nerves out, and I looked at it as just business. You know what I mean? All it is business. I'm like, they're just people. I'm like, you got to stop. You can't put them on pedestals or act like a fan or to take the photos or whatever. I was like, you have to look at it as a business, which in order for me to keep going. And then at the time, sorry for the long answer, but at the time I got to Manisow's thing, I had already had, you can't fake repetition. It's hard to, if you ask somebody something, you can tell if they're green or not. At that point in time, I had already done it countless times. And I even had a cruise job back in 2019 filming people that go on the cruise ships. I can't even count how many people I've filmed. I don't remember their names, but there's hundreds of them that would film the videos that go on the cruise ships. And that was a big thing that dealt with so many different personalities, whether somebody got it done like that, somebody that struggled, somebody that was a prima donna. It didn't matter. I knew how to deal with people. And I just, as further I got into it, it's like, all right, here's Phil Hellmuth first day. Here's James Wood first day. I was sticking the camera in their faces the first day and filming like and I think they know that. They see that the way you carry yourself. It just set me up from here on out. Like I hold no nervousness now. Whatever. I go. It's point and click at this point. To answer your question.
Yeah, I mean, I got the answer. Now you have been like, you have the expertise in document filmmaking. So documentary filmmaking. So what's the plan like? You want to keep on exploring in the same space, or you are looking for like now mainstream scripted narratives?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had just signed with a talent agency called Empire Agency. Friend of mine from Full Sail. I've known him for 10 years. I built enough rapport with them. I finally gave him my ask equity, and I said, I know that you're close with these guys, and they're international company in Paris. And I said that, I never asked him for anything. And I said, can you hook me up with them? And at this point, he already seen all my work. And he said to me, I have the message too. He said that he's glad that I finally stepped up and asked. He said he knew I was ready. So he connected me with them. They were just at the Cannes Film Festival. It just happened in France. So I had sent them over. They asked me what I had in terms of projects. So I had sent them over about 12 projects that I have right now. It's a blend of docuseries and narrative scripts. But I really want to move into the narrative world. I wrote about 4 feature screenplays that are written, done, pitch decks, all that stuff. Wrote them over the course of the years. I never actually wanted to get into documentary filmmaking. It was just something that it was either this or a full-time normal job that's not in my industry. So I kind of fell into the documentary world. But now I told them, the managers, that the screenplays that I have written, I want to get those going. And, they're helping me now, trying to get them going, trying to find funding for them. But yeah, I got 12 projects. It's a blend. I mean, I won't say no to documentaries, but I'd rather start moving into the narrative world because I think that the Matusow, I thought, it was the best for what we could do with it. We can always improve. That's just my mindset. But I think that I can really show the world my true talent with my narrative pieces, which my feature screenplays, and I think that I can really shine to the next level. And which I'm hoping, my whole goal in the business is to get to the Oscars and stuff like that. I know it sounds far fetched, but you know what? I didn't know anybody in the poker world, and me and Matusow did a stir in the poker world, did a stir in the bodybuilding world, did a stir in the wrestling world, and now I'm doing that in the mentioning it to you real quick too. I just did a documentary on a famous sports book, a guy named Jimmy Vicario, which I'm editing that right now. I actually have to finish that in the next 2 months. But yeah, I had no intent. It just happened. I didn't think I would be dealing with the guy who was the godfather of the sportsbook industry that I didn't really know anything about. And somehow here I am sticking a camera in his face. I stayed in Vegas for 2 months again, not too long ago. So, I mean, that's where I'm at. I want to keep going until I can't anymore. I'm not satisfied for yesterday. I want to continue on to what's next.
And that's great. And we wish you all the very best, for your shining
Thank you.
career and everything. So that was Frank Zarrillo discussing Matusow, a documentary that revealed the real life behind one of the poker most well-known figures. If you haven't seen it yet, the film is available now on YouTube. Highly recommended for everyone who follow the game. Thank you for joining us on Poker Pro News. We will keep bringing you the meaningful stories from the world of the poker. Thank you, Frank. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I'm grateful. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.